So guys, welcome back. Uh, the On the previous video we done a test drive of the brown. I'm gonna call it the brown car, the E30 325. And during the drive, I pointed out that we had a couple of errors on the check panel. The During the video, one of the viewers commented there and said and asked basically for us to please show them how we get rid of the faults. So the faults that were on there were the faults that were on there, sorry man. The faults that were on there was the oil light, so that's the oil level light, the number plate light, and the washer bottle fluid, right? So washer bottle fluid was basically the fluid was low. We got that sorted out. The number plate lights, there's LED lights, aftermarket LED lights or globes that were put in there. That was triggering the fault on the check panel. As for the oil level sensor, that became a bit tricky, but this is just a quick breakdown of how to test if it's a sensor or if it's a wiring issue. So if you pull the sleeving back on the sensor, right, and I'll go through this here with you now. If you pull the sleeving back on the sensor, you pick up that you've got a green and yellow wire, which is okay. Your green and yellow wire, then that's pin number 1. Pin number 2 is a plain brown. Pin number 3 is a blue. So you got a common ground, which is pin number 2, and then your negative signals running up and down between your green and yellow and your blue. So your green and yellow is responsible basically for a full level float or full level on the in the oil sump, right? So when you add capacity, when the oil is at capacity in the sump, that should be reading full. You should be getting a negative signal coming through back to the check panel from there, right? This here does not run through the ECU. This here runs basically straight from there all the way through to your via your fuse box and then through to the check panel. On a low level, you'll pick up a negative signal on the blue line. I'm going to do a quick test for you. I'm going to do a quick test. The items that you're going to need here is basically a test light. So with a test light, everybody goes over to a negative. You plug it onto a negative and you do a positive test. Here we're going to do a negative test. So we need to plug onto a positive. The easiest way to plug onto a positive here is on your starter wire, your 30mm starter wire. I'm going to go onto that for you. We're going to show you how it's done, and that's the easiest way to determine is it a sensor or is it a wiring issue. This sensor here is stuck on a low level. It's basically stuck on a low level signal. So it's only giving us a signal basically on the blue. You can do whatever you want to do. It only gives us a signal on the blue. That's why the oil light is on all the time. So that sensor is seeing basically there's low oil level. If there was an issue, the other way you can do it as well is if you, sorry about that. So the other way is if there's a wiring issue on the car, if it's not a sensor issue and you need to go further in that, the green and yellow turns over to a plain blue and black on the C104 connector, and that comes now through the fuse box and basically up to the check panel. The blue turns over to a purple and green. So what you can do is you can come to your C104 connector, do a continuity test from here to there, or you can even do it from the plug itself. You can do a continuity test just to make sure there's no breakage in the lines. So that will now eliminate issues basically on the wiring harness, especially under the dashboard where we always pick up issues. You'll eliminate those issues there, and then you know that the wiring is sorted out. Then you move over to your sensor. So I would say step 1, first do a continuity test, make sure that there's no breakage in the wiring, right? And then step 2 is to do a test on the sensor. So yesterday what I've done is I've taken the sensor out and I've basically turned it around. I've cleaned it up, I've turned it around. That should have given it now a low level test, and it's still stuck on blue. So when I put it back in, it's still stuck on the low level, and the sump is up to capacity. So we know that the sensor is gone, and it is a common fault on the E30s. I'm gonna take you now through basically into the engine. So we're gonna go handheld, and we're just gonna do a rough test quickly with a test light and do a negative test. Okay, so I've taken just a basic test light, right? And we're going to do a negative test. So I've tapped over to the starter positive there. This here is I've taken the one nut out here. So this is your oil level sensor. You can see yesterday I've taken it out, I've missed some oil there. That's your sensor. The oil sensor was changed because the male side of it, the plug is broken off and the terminals are exposed. So obviously if you buy a new sensor, we'll get that new. We're going to do a negative test now. So you can see you got a yellow and green. You can't really see the green. Yellow and green, you got a brown and you got a blue. So if you go into the brown, that's a common ground on there. If you go into the yellow, that's supposed to be your high float frequency or high float level. There's nothing on there, even though the sump is to capacity. This is a low level. So this is what's triggering your light at the moment. So this is an easy way just to check it. Sorry man, that's an easy way just to check it and distinguish where the issue is coming from after you've run step 1. Anyway guys, so this is for the viewer that asked the question. I hope this here answers your question. I hope this here helps you. Guys, again, if you find this here interesting, please like, subscribe and share our channel. And please interact with us. I hope this here helps you. And let me know what you guys think.